Welcome to the History in Focus channel. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss more videos like this one. This man in the photo is Roy Sullivan, a Virginia park ranger known as the Human Lightning Rod. Between 1942 and 1977, he survived 7 lightning strikes, a feat with odds of 1 in 700,000. The first occurred while seeking shelter in a tower. The others happened in unusual places, like a truck, a yard, and even while fishing. Each strike left scars on his skin, but Roy defied the odds, living to 71 and becoming a legend of survival. Michael Fagan became famous after breaking into Buckingham Palace in 1982 and reaching Queen Elizabeth II's bedroom. He climbed a drain pipe and triggered alarms, but the police dismissed them, thinking they were false alerts. Inside, he injured himself breaking an ashtray before waking the Queen at 7 in the morning. They talked for 10 minutes before security intervened. Later, he revealed he had entered the palace on other occasions, exposing severe flaws in royal security protocols. In 2016, 3 men in a 19-foot boat faced rough seas that capsized their vessel, leaving them stranded on a remote island in Fanadic, north of Papua New Guinea. For 3 days, they survived and even wrote "Help" with palm leaves on the shore. A passing plane spotted their signal, guided by a fire they lit, and they were successfully rescued. In these images, a professional mermaid nearly drowned during a performance at an aquarium in a shopping mall in Randburg, South Africa. Her tail became entangled in an artificial coral, forcing her to desperately remove it to swim to the surface. The woman survived, and the incident, captured on video and shared widely on social media, highlighted the unexpected risks these performers face. In this sequence of images, Aaron Ralston faced a nightmare when he became trapped in a remote canyon in Utah in 2003. A 400-pound rock crushed his arm, leaving him isolated, with no communication and with no one knowing his location. After days of agony, he made a painful decision to amputate his own arm to survive. After freeing himself, he was rescued by a Dutch family, and his story inspired courage and determination in adventurers worldwide. An Australian teenager faced a nightmare in a public pool when she became trapped under a submerged cover. Unable to free herself, her situation quickly turned life-threatening. Fortunately, emergency services managed to rescue her in time, and she survived. Maqsood Khan, a 20-year-old, made a tragic mistake by getting too close and falling into the white tiger enclosure at the National Zoo in Delhi, India, on September 23, 2014. In this photo, he is seen face-to-face with the animal, which fatally attacked him, ending his life. In these images, a curious incident unfolds. 22 firefighters were called to rescue a young man who became trapped inside the sculpture "Making Love" by Peruvian artist Fernando de la Jara. For unknown reasons, the man decided to crawl into the artwork, leading to a challenging operation to carefully extract him. The event became unforgettable for both the public and the firefighters involved. In this photo, Irina Glazunova, a 24-year-old Russian influencer, was enjoying a vacation in Tbilisi, Georgia, with a friend. Always active on social media, she sought to capture relaxed moments to share with her followers. During an animated recording, Irina grabbed her friend's phone and began walking sideways, completely distracted and unaware of what was in front of her. Unknowingly, she fell into the entrance of a subway station, plummeting 16 feet and hitting her head on the floor. Emergency services were called, but she suffered a severe skull fracture and did not survive, marking the tragic end of her trip. Steven Weber planned a memorable marriage proposal in 2019 in the waters of Tanzania. He dove to the underwater window of the hotel where he was staying, showing a romantic note and a ring to his girlfriend. However, what should have been an unforgettable moment turned tragic. He misjudged the time underwater, ran out of air and could not return to the surface, losing his life. Catherine Chappell, a 29-year-old American tourist, made a fatal mistake on June 1, 2015, during a safari in South Africa. While visiting Lion Park, she lowered her car window to photograph some lions when a lioness pounced and attacked her. Despite rescue attempts, Catherine did not survive. Known for her work on films like Godzilla and Captain America: The Winter Soldier, her tragic loss shocked the world. Aldi Novel Adilang, a 19-year-old, miraculously survived 49 days adrift in the Pacific Ocean after strong winds broke the rope anchoring his fishing raft in Indonesia. He lived off fish he caught and filtered seawater using his shirt. After numerous ships ignored him, he managed to send a distress signal using a portable radio and was finally rescued by a ship responding to his call. Frenchman Émile Loray embarked on an extraordinary adventure in the Sahara Desert after his Citroën 2CV collided with a rock, leaving him stranded in the middle of nowhere without contact with civilization. With creativity and determination, he dismantled his car and within 12 days constructed a functional motorcycle from its parts. This ingenious invention got him to a nearby town and demonstrated his incredible resourcefulness in surviving one of the world's harshest environments. This boy, known as Xiao Yu, only 5 years old, became trapped in a 20-centimeter gap between two walls in Jiajie Village, China. While playing, he ended up in a narrow space where he could not move his head. Panicked, his parents and neighbors failed to free him and called firefighters. Using lubricant and an inflatable mattress to widen the gap, they saved him after an hour of effort. During World War I, British soldier Henry Tandy, highly decorated, reportedly crossed paths with Adolf Hitler, then a wounded and unarmed corporal, in a trench in 1914. In an act of compassion, Tandy spared his life, unaware of the consequences of this decision. Years later, Hitler became one of history's most infamous leaders, tragically altering the world's fate. Mao Zedong ordered the eradication of sparrows in China in 1958, believing they were pests harming the nation. Millions of birds were exterminated, but the plan backfired catastrophically. Without sparrows to control pests like locusts, crops were ravaged, leading to widespread famine. Within 3 years, around 45 million people perished, making this decision a tragic mistake. Both Napoleon Bonaparte in 1812 and Adolf Hitler in 1941 made the same fatal mistake, underestimating Russian resilience and the country's brutal winters. Both launched invasions during the summer, but fighting dragged into the dreaded Russian winter. Unprepared for the extreme conditions, their armies were devastated by the cold and Russian tactics, resulting in historic defeats and ranking among the worst military blunders of all time. During the Great Plague of London in 1665, Londoners believed cats spread disease and began exterminating them. However, reducing the cat population eliminated the natural predators of rats, the true carriers of the plague. Without control, the plague intensified, killing about 100,000 people, nearly a quarter of the population, in just 18 months. This is Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, and the moment captures his reaction upon discovering that the photographer was, in fact, Jewish. The photographer's mistake? Revealing his identity to one of the regime's most dangerous men. This carelessness likely sealed his fate, showing how a simple slip can have tragic consequences. These images capture the tense moment when a jaguar approaches a man while his team prepares to subdue it. Ignoring the imminent danger signs, their proximity to the animal became a critical mistake. In a swift attack, the jaguar lunged before any action could be taken, causing. In 1999, Larry Page and Sergey Brin tried to sell Google to Excite CEO George Bell for $1 million. When Bell showed no interest, the duo lowered the price to $750,000, but he still declined. What seemed like a routine decision at the time became one of the biggest business mistakes in history, as Google is now worth an astounding $365 billion. A missed opportunity that echoes in George's memory to this day. Jamie Molnar, a British skier, suffered a frightening accident in Switzerland when he fell 59 feet into a deep ice crevasse. Ignoring warnings about the craters, he missed a turn and plummeted. Luckily, he escaped with minimal injuries and was able to notify his brother via radio. His camera captured several self-portraits during the incident, showing his calm demeanor while explaining what happened. In this image, firefighters rescue a woman who decided chimneys are not exclusive to Santa Claus. In 2014, in California, she tried entering the home of a man she had dated only 6 times and became stuck midway. It took 2 hours, a hydraulic hammer, and plenty of patience from firefighters. The relationship likely did not survive this disaster. Xenia Ignatieva, a 17-year-old Russian teenager, sought adrenaline in extreme selfies. In this image, she balances on top of a structure during her latest attempt to capture the perfect shot. However, after the click, Xenia lost her balance and fell, landing on 1,500-volt power lines, losing her life. Franz Reichelt, a determined French inventor, turned the Eiffel Tower into the stage for his greatest mistake in 1912. Confident in his wearable parachute prototype, he jumped from the monument as a crowd watched in disbelief. However, the parachute failed, and he plunged 187 feet to his death. Most intriguingly, the autopsy revealed that Reichelt suffered a heart attack during the fall, succumbing before he even hit the ground, tragically sealing his ambitious experiment. In this gripping case, a coach and 12 young soccer players entered a cave in northern Thailand for a brief exploration. However, intense rains quickly flooded the entrance, trapping the group. Without supplies, they survived by drinking water from stalactites while waiting for help. After more than a week, they were all rescued in a story that captivated the world at the time. A Polish influencer couple made a tragic mistake by crossing a safety barrier on a cliff to capture an epic photo. Seeking to impress, they ignored the danger, and the result was fatal. They lost their balance and fell to their deaths. Their own children witnessed the tragic outcome of this reckless decision, which could have easily been avoided. This image captures Ali Khan Samsudin, a famous Malaysian snake charmer, in his final moments in 2006. Known for his unmatched skill, he made the fatal mistake of underestimating the risk of handling these animals. During a performance, he was fatally bitten by one of his snakes, ending his life tragically in the craft that made him famous. In this image, Casey, a dedicated father, made a mistake by underestimating the dangers of a busy road while helping ducks cross it in California in May 2023. Despite his altruistic gesture, he was fatally struck by a vehicle and lost his life. In his honor, the site became a memorial, adorned with flowers, drawings, and rubber ducks. Although it looks like an ordinary selfie between friends, this image records a fatal mistake. The light in the background is not a sunset, but the headlights of an approaching train. Distracted by the photo, the young women failed to notice the imminent danger and did not have time to escape. Victoria Seiler, an experienced skydiver with over 2,600 jumps, lived through a nightmare in Salisbury Plain when both her parachutes failed. What seemed like an accident turned out to be sabotage. Her husband, a military sergeant, had tampered with the equipment due to marital problems. Despite the fall, Victoria survived with injuries. The man was sentenced to life imprisonment, and she transformed her trauma into strength, sharing her story in books and interviews. These images show Michael Rockefeller's last interactions with a New Guinea tribe in 1961. The son of a billionaire, he made the fatal mistake of venturing alone in search of tribal artifacts. His boat capsized, and he tried swimming to shore. Days later, he disappeared. Years after his disappearance, this intriguing image emerged, showing a white man among a New Guinea tribe. Many speculated it could be Michael, possibly held captive or assimilated by the natives. Captured under mysterious circumstances, the photo fueled theories, but his true fate in 1961 remains shrouded in mystery. These images show how Poon Lim survived the incredible 133 days adrift in the South Atlantic. After his ship was torpedoed in 1942, he swam for hours before finding a raft with dry biscuits, water, and a few tools. Using creativity, he made fishing hooks, caught fish, and collected rainwater to survive. His epic journey ended when fishermen rescued him, marking the longest survival on a raft at sea. This image reveals the disastrous outcome of a prison escape attempt. 5 inmates decided to escape through a hole made in the wall using an improvised shower pipe. The first managed to pass through, but the man in the image became stuck midway. His desperate screams alerted the guards, foiling not only his escape, but also that of his accomplices. 12 publishers made one of the biggest financial blunders of all time by rejecting J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter manuscript. It was only after Bloomsbury listened to the 8-year-old daughter of their chairman that they decided to take a chance on the story. The result? The books became a global phenomenon, translated into over 60 languages, and turned Rowling into the first billionaire author in history. James Howells, a Welshman, threw away one of the greatest treasures of his life. In 2009, he bought about 7,500 bitcoins, worth nearly nothing at the time. By 2013, his portfolio was worth 4.5 million British pounds, but the hard drive containing the coins was in a landfill buried under 16 feet of trash. Despite desperate searches, the drive was never found, leaving James with a lifelong memory of his costly mistake. On June 28, 1914, a wrong turn changed the course of history. The driver of Archduke Franz Ferdinand unknowingly brought the car straight to assassin Gavrilo Princip. Shocked by the unexpected opportunity, Princip fired, killing the Archduke and his wife, Sophie. This event triggered World War I, proving how a small mistake can have monumental consequences. This image shows how a mistranslation altered history in August 1945. Japanese Prime Minister Kantaro Suzuki responded to the Allies' ultimatum with the word mokusatsu, meaning no comment. However, it was translated as silent contempt. This misunderstanding led to the bombing of Hiroshima, causing over 70,000 immediate deaths and leaving a legacy of unprecedented destruction and suffering. This series of paintings depicts the tragic end of one of history's most famous leaders. On March 15, 44 BC, Julius Caesar ignored warnings from his wife and went to the Senate, confident in his power. There, he was betrayed and stabbed to death by about 60 senators, including his close friend Brutus. This fatal mistake marked the end of his ascent and forever changed the course of Roman history. In this photo, while hunters proudly pose with a black bear they killed, another bear, possibly a companion or relative of the prey, silently watches in the background. The mistake? Completely ignoring their surroundings and underestimating the natural instincts of the animal. This image shows Olesia, a 31-year-old woman from Kazakhstan, posing for a photo on a cliff in Turkey, celebrating her brief moments from this vantage point. Her fatal mistake was ignoring the danger of balancing so close to the edge. Shortly after this photo, she lost her balance and fell over 98 feet, resulting in a fatal tragedy. Andrei Retrovsky, only 17 years old, posed in this image while pushing the limits of safety, seeking an impressive photo for his social media. Unfortunately, the young man underestimated the danger. Just 10 seconds after the photo, he lost his balance and fell from the building, tragically and irreversibly ending his life. Sergio Martinez, an inexperienced hunter from West Covina, California, made a disastrous decision after getting lost in the woods near San Diego. He fired a flare gun in an attempt to signal for help, but instead accidentally started the largest wildfire in California's history. This image captures the moment a man crawled into a cave to photograph a 350-pound black bear, believing the animal was in deep hibernation. To his surprise, the bear was wide awake, and what was meant to be simple research turned into a frantic effort to sedate the bear before it escaped down the mountainside and attacked them. At first glance, this appears to be just a photo of divers exploring the ocean depths. However, in the background lies the body of Tina Watson, who died during her honeymoon while diving at the SS Yongala wreck. Her husband, Gabe Watson, made the fatal mistake of leaving her at the ocean floor, claiming he could not save her, which raised suspicions of murder and destroyed his credibility. This image revealed a grave mistake committed by Jimmy Brock, a motel manager, in 1964. In an act of desperation and intolerance, he poured acid into a pool where black and white protesters were swimming together to protest racial segregation. This cruel act not only endangered lives, but also left his and his restaurant's reputations tarnished with historical shame. This sequence captures one of the most embarrassing moments in tech history. In April 1998, during Comdex in Chicago, Bill Gates introduced the new Windows 98 with USB and plug-and-play support. During the demonstration, when connecting a scanner, the system crashed with the infamous blue screen of death in front of hundreds of spectators. Gates lightened the moment with humor, saying, "That's why we are not shipping it yet." In this image, Brazilian priest Adelir Antonio appears confident before his bold attempt to break a world record on April 20th, 2008. He planned to fly for 20 hours using 600 helium balloons, attracting national and international attention. His critical mistake? A lack of proper planning. Without reliable navigation equipment and facing strong winds, he disappeared. 2 months later, his body was found on a coast, marking a tragic end to his daring attempt. Robert Overacker, an experienced and determined lifeguard, made a fatal mistake on October 1st, 1995, when attempting to jump over Niagara Falls. His bold action aimed to raise awareness for the homeless cause, but his parachute failed, and he plummeted to his death, a mistake that cost him his life. Kai-Suk Han, 58 years old, made a fatal error by getting involved in an argument that led to him being pushed onto the subway tracks in New York City on December 3, 2012. In the photo, he is seen hanging onto the platform, struggling to climb back as a train approaches. Tragically, he could not escape in time, resulting in a shocking incident that left the public stunned. This image shows Bill Clinton posing with Monica Lewinsky, his intern at the White House. What seemed like an innocent photo turned into a monumental error. Their involvement came to light in 1998, resulting in one of the largest political scandals of the 1990s, tarnishing Clinton's presidency and leading to an impeachment process for perjury and obstruction of justice. These images depict a teenage girl's moment of panic when her leg became stuck in a 7-centimeter gap between steel beams in Shiny City, China. Unable to free herself, she required the assistance of firefighters, who spent hours carefully cutting the metal to release her. Despite the fear and pain, the rescue was successful. This was the moment when 32-year-old Sean faced the consequences of a major mistake. He became trapped in an air conditioning duct while attempting to break into a dental office in Bayshore. In a desperate attempt to justify his actions, he claimed he was searching for his cat, Sparkles. Trapped for 3 hours, his plan failed comically and ended with the arrival of the police. This image shows 4 young musicians who would change music history: the Beatles. In February 1962, the 4, then unknown, auditioned for Decca Records in London. After performing 15 songs, they were rejected with the statement, "Guitar groups are on their way out." Months later, they signed with EMI and became the biggest band of all time, making Decca's decision one of the most regrettable in music history. For centuries, maps depicted California as an island, all thanks to a colossal mistake by Fortune Ximenes in 1533. Inspired by a Spanish romance about a mythical island, he claimed to have found the legendary island of California. The great error? No one verified it. Only in 1776 did Juan de Anza correct the mistake, proving California was part of the continent. Ricky May incredibly survived 71 days in the Australian desert in 2006 after a possible kidnapping and car failure. Lost in an unforgiving environment, he used survival skills to feed on insects and lizards and drink water from puddles. With temperatures exceeding 104 degrees Fahrenheit, his body weakened, dropping to only 99 pounds. Rescued at a remote station, his resilience made headlines in Australia at the time. In these images, this boy, known as Andrew, learned brutally about the dangers of disrespecting wildlife boundaries. During a visit to a sanctuary, he crossed a restricted fence to move a stone near an electric barrier. Two chimpanzees, Amadeus and Nicky, saw this as a threat and reacted violently, dragging him and causing severe injuries. Despite the attack, Andrew survived and recovered. Yasuko Namba, an experienced mountaineer, made history in 1996 as the oldest woman to reach the summit of Mount Everest at 47 years old. However, her achievement was tragically overshadowed by the deadly snowstorm on May 10th of that year. Stranded at South Col, she ran out of oxygen and succumbed to the extreme conditions, becoming one of the 8 victims of what became known as the Everest disaster of 1996. Anna Bogenholm, a Norwegian skier, experienced a near-fatal ordeal in the mountains near Narvik. After losing control, she fell under a layer of ice nearly 20 inches thick, becoming trapped with only her feet visible. She found an air pocket that kept her conscious while awaiting rescue, and after 80 minutes, she was freed with her body temperature dangerously close to 56.7 degrees Fahrenheit. Her survival is considered a medical miracle, as her heart had stopped beating by the time she was taken to the hospital. However, doctors used a cardiopulmonary device to revive her. Amazingly, her heart began beating again after 24 hours, and within 12 days, she regained consciousness. The story of these 3 men, Clifford Olds, Louis Costin, and Ronald Endicott, is one of the most tragic tales of life at sea. At a depth of 131 feet, they became trapped in an air pocket in a Navy ship's hull. For 16 days, their anguished banging echoed, but rescue teams failed to hear their signals in time. Unable to escape, the sailors perished, leaving a painful reminder for the surviving crew. This image shows a man named Sora, trapped in a crevice between 2 rocks, in a situation that almost cost him his life. He had fallen while trying to retrieve his flashlight during bat collection in the mountainous jungles of Cambodia. Yossi Ginsberg, on the right in the photo, made a mistake that nearly cost him his life, trusting an unknown guide to explore the Bolivian Amazon in 1981. The expedition, planned to find gold and lost tribes, quickly became a nightmare. After becoming separated from the group, Yossi spent 3 weeks alone, battling hunger, dangerous animals, and infections. Miraculously, he survived, though the lesson was harsh. Fred Merkle, first baseman for the New York Giants, lived a nightmare on September 23, 1908. In a decisive game against the Chicago Cubs, he appeared to secure victory with a hit, but made a fatal mistake. He did not touch second base. The Cubs took advantage, nullified the play, and the game ended in a tie. This slip cost the Giants the championship and marked Fred forever, earning him the infamous nickname Merkle's Boner. These images show NASA's attempt to launch its first unmanned spacecraft to Venus in 1962. Crowds and scientists eagerly awaited as the rocket took off from Cape Canaveral. However, just 5 minutes into the flight, the control center issued a self-destruct command. The reason? A coding error sealed the mission's fate before it truly began.